Fantastic Four, First Steps, Issue 1. This is a one-shot comic. It is a prequel tie-in to the film. I have a second printing. That is a good thing because that means this comic did well. It went into a second printing. The movie also did well. I know you'll hear that it was a flop, but it made a big profit, and I'm glad because I really like this movie. Now, as you can see here on the cover, this is a recreation of the cover of Fantastic Four issue number 1 from 1961. So the movie didn't start off with their origin. They had already been a superhero team and established at that point and had a backstory. This comic is the same. This takes place 4 years after their origin, but it is telling about their origin in past tense. This story has been put together by the Future Foundation, which in Fantastic Four Comics was a team put together by, I'm not even going to pretend I know what it was. Look, years and years ago I was drawing pictures of the Super Mashed Potato Man, my superhero team based on my friend Sean's concept designs, and I was trying to come up with different designs, and I was also copying other designs, and one of them was I saw this really cool white Spider-Man with black designs on. I was like, man, that is awesome. And shortly after I drew it, I went to a convention and there was a guy dressed up in that costume, and I posted a picture, and Sean said, how is this not the most important picture of your entire life? Someone dressed up as one of your characters. And I said, no, it's this character from comics. I don't know what it was. And I looked it up, and it said, well, it's Spider-Man when he was part of the Future Foundation. I'm like, what is that? And it was him as part of the Fantastic Four, but now they were all in these costumes. I don't know what it is. I like it. I need to learn more about it. But anyways, here we go. So we have the Fantastic Four here with JFK and Jackie Onassis in the White House. You can see Reed Richards is not the only scientist now in the movie version of the team. He's a PhD in astrophysics, engineering, mathematics. He's like a Neil deGrasse Tyson times 10. Ben Grimm is a pilot in the United States Air Force, but Sue Storm is also a PhD, this one in archaeology, and Johnny Storm, I love this, he's an Eagle Scout, amongst other things. So here is their rocket and the cosmic rays and the discovery of their powers. Pretty cool. Now when they came back to Earth, they put themselves into quarantine for an indeterminate amount of time. There's Herbie the Robot, which, as you know, originally came from the 1978 animated series to replace the Human Torch because the rights for that character were tied up with a possible film that never took place. Now, I love these quotes that they fill the story with to tell the backstory. They have these sources cited. So Reed's quote here is from Fantastic Fulminations in Science Dad magazine, issue 91. Ben Grimm is from the Gilbert and Grimm interviews, which was a telecast. And I'm going to say right away, this story is so well written. Look at this right here. Join the Flaming Hearts fan club for Johnny Storm. This is so great. It's like, this is what you would authentically see for these teen heartthrobs of the 60s. I love this. So now we get to a Sue Storm quote, which was from Kids of Storm, a telecast. They get even better. You've got like television clips and stuff. You get the Mole Man, the backstory of the Mole Man and Subterranea. It's a great story. So as I was saying, this is so well written because not only is the story fun and engaging, but all of the character traits have been captured well. The dynamics have been captured well. The voice of each character is captured well. All of the elements of how you would tell this story in a 60s context in the real world is so well thought out. Here we go. Reed Richards, a quote from After Building Q from Timely Magazine, volume 43, issue 2. Johnny Storm from the Reader Q&A section of the Flaming Hearts Club fanzine, issue 13. Like, you got an ABC radio interview here. An article from the Future Foundation, Second Assembly. For Ben Grimm, you've got Yancey Boy Makes Good, an article in the Yancey Street Yerdle, issue 18. And they'll have a lot of things from, like, this is a quote from a Senate hearing, this is a quote from this, and it's just so great. Here's the layout of the Baxter Building, fantastic car. This, and all the stuff we didn't get to see, really, you know, played out in the movie, but I really wish I could have. But you get it in the comic. It's so well done. Now, there were no credits at the beginning, so I don't know who wrote or drew this, but hopefully we'll get to it by the end because this writer has got to be the most fantastic writer that has stood out in my mind in so many years. I love this. And the art, I think it's great. It's really great. Look at this, an advertisement for the Fantastic car. Sue Storm's powers are so cool with the force field. Look, she can just put, what's that, Giganto right to sleep. See, the art is good. You can tell right from this drawing, from a bird's eye view, that the building is sinking into the ground in a single panel. You don't need multiple panels to see it sinking. You don't need another view to see that it's going down. Right there, that's pure artistry. They've really told the story in a single panel of motion. That's not easy to do. Okay, so you got more bits that look like it come out of a 1960s magazine, like the School of Science newsletter, and a full article about Reed. This must be photos they took for the movie for promotional type material like these things, like a comic book tie-in. It's so great. You even have a quote from Harvey Elder, the mole man, from an emergency session of the United Nations General Assembly. And you've got all of this backstory about how the Subterranea came to being with Mole Man as their leader, and what their problem is with the surface dwellers and how it came about because of the Fantastic Four, and how it was kind of resolved because of the Fantastic Four again. Look at these. An ad for these books, as if they were real books and magazines. It's so great. You see this? Johnny Storm on the cover of Golf Weekly. There's going to be an article in here where he talks about how he started playing golf and stuff. I love this. See, Johnny talks from his heart. Look at, I love it. And even the designs, like you'd see that in Ren and Stimpy, where they're doing that kind of retro design. So it's here. They're doing like a Q&A with the heartthrob, and he talks about he started golf. This comic is so great. And the movie was great. Did you guys like the movie? I really did. I hope it's a sign of good things to come, because Marvel has been disappointing for quite a number of years. And there we go. Okay, so we've got credits. The movie credits and stuff. The writer, Matt Fraction, I've heard his name a million times on podcasts and YouTube channels for years and years. I've never read anything by him until now. Ooh, I like this. This is nice. Who comes up with these logos? It's so great. They really capture the aesthetic of the past. Artist Mark Buckingham. I don't think I've heard his name, but I like his work. But right there, Matt Fraction, that name is going to stick with me, because I hope I get the chance to read more stories by Matt Fraction, and I'll see if they're just as fantastic. And look, cool, a retro style fake ad for a fake product. Love it. So before we go, I'll give you a little bit of extra info. Back when I did my video about the actual Fantastic Four issue number 1, and we went through it, I told you about all of the other comics that were out on the shelves at the time, or the news rack, newsstand, what have you, to get from Marvel. Well, now I can tell you what other comics were out from all of the companies. So this was August of 1961. There were 140 different comic books out that month from companies such as Marvel, DC, Archie, Dell, ACG, Harvey, Charlton, Fawcett, Gilbert, and Prize. And I'm not going to tell you all of them, but I will tell you what other superhero comics were out at the time when Marvel decided to relaunch superheroes into the Marvel Universe, which had been gone for many years. Well, from DC, you had Action Comics 281, Superman 148, Superman's girlfriend Lois Lane 28, Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen 56, Adventure Comics 289, and Superboy 92. Those all featured Superman and Superboy and their surrounding cast. So that just shows Superman was still huge. I mean, his television show was on throughout the 1950s, so Superman reigned supreme still. He just never went away. But then you also had Detective Comics 296 and Batman issue 143. These are both Batman comics, so he was still out there, and that would eventually lead to the Batman television series that would come later in the 60s that made Batman super popular again. And finally, from DC, you had The Brave and the Bold, issue 38, which had the Suicide Squad. Challengers of the Unknown, issue 22, which was a team put together by Jack Kirby, which was like a prototype version of the Fantastic Four before he created the Fantastic Four. And you had Wonder Woman, issue 125. So there's your final DC mainstay superhero that never went away. And those are the three DC superheroes that did not really change when it went into the Silver Age of comics. They were the same as the Golden Age. Yes, they do have a distinction between the Earth 1 and Earth 2 versions of those, but it is so much less obvious than characters like the Flash and Green Lantern, where their private identity changes, their costume changes, their origin changes, stuff like that. So there you go. But what other superhero comics were out there? Was there anything else from any of the other companies? So Marvel just had the Fantastic Four, and DC had a lot of Superman, a little Batman, and a tiny bit of other stuff. Well, only one other company was putting out superhero comics, and that was Archie Comics. They had Adventures of the Fly, issue 15, which was a character created by Joe Simon, which is kind of like a prototype to what eventually became Spider-Man. And Adventures of the Jaguar, issue 2, which was another Archie superhero that I'm not familiar with. Other than that, all the other companies, they weren't putting out superhero comics at that time. So there you go, the final story that I'm going to cover for the first issue of Fantastic Four, and I'll see you next time.